And it's a good question, because sometimes it's not easy to do. But the truth is, even though we're elected by our districts, the reality is we would represent the district as a whole. And so I think it's important that when it comes to some of these big decisions, we have to look beyond our own area that we were elected from sometimes, because if it benefits the entire district, then it's going to benefit the districts that we represent. And so for me personally, rarely do I step up and say, you know what, it's not good for the Burgess pattern, it's not good for the Jefferson feeder pattern, and therefore I'm not going to support it. In fact, I supported the Franklin magnet, which really was the concerning thing, was it going to compete with Silva? And but I recognize that we're a big school district and there's distance between the two schools, and so offering a medical opportunity out here in the west side is not a bad idea. And for those kids who, again, we go back, for those kids who want to go to the Silva environment, which means that you have to qualify to get into that school, that opportunity exists. For those who may not want that kind of rigor to get in, well, the opportunity exists up to Franklin. And so it's a benefit for the entire district. And in the end, it's often said to me, you know, when you raise the sea level, all boats rise. And so we have to keep that in mind. In the end, I have an interest in supporting my district, and I will, and really what that boils down to is I get a lot of calls from my district. I get a lot of people calling me, asking me complaints, whatever it may be, and those are my issues to resolve within the district. But when it comes to board decisions, 90% of the time those board decisions are district-wide decisions that affect everybody within the district, and I think that's where it should be.
So, you know, I think one of the things that a school board member has to recognize is that their vote is not for their district. Their vote is for the district, for their precinct, you know, their individual precinct. It's for the whole. And so it's really important, I think, to develop policies and processes and procedures that look at directing resources to the greatest need, irrespective of district. That's very hard for a representative to do, because you want to be able to, you know, come to your district and say, look, I got you all of this money, we did all these great things. For, you know, Austin High School as an example, that's the area that I represent. But I think then you're failing the taxpayers that you represent if you're not saying, look, we know we have limited resources, so we need to come up with a very fair process to make sure that we're directing our resources to where the greatest need is. And you know, I think the bond was a good example of that. We really tried to set up a process. It used to be in prior, the way they set up prior bonds is that they would sort of say, oh, let's get every district a little bit of something. And what ended up happening is what happened here at Coronado, because everybody got a little bit of something. Schools like Coronado that had very significant need didn't get anything, right? Because you were just trying to get, so this is the way that we tried to set up the bond this time, is we had an independent engineering firm look at all of the need and prioritize that need. And we asked a community group to help us decide what should go on that list. And really ask them to go to where the greatest need was first, and not to look at, well, you know, we need to get Susie Bird some money, and we need to get, you know, for her district, and, you know, so I think that that's a real important thing to do. You want to make sure that your schools that you're representing are not, you know, aren't falling. You want to pay attention to the particulars at your school, but I think it's not your job to deliver for your particular schools. It's your job to make sure you've set up fair processes that make sure that you're targeting resources to where the greatest need is.
Number one, I'm not territorial. I keep in mind the needs of every student in our district. I don't care what number 7, number 2, number 5. If there's something wrong at Coronado High School, even though it's not in my district, I'll try to help. I will go through the proper channels. I won't go to the superintendent and say, hey, you know, Ms. Fennenbach's district's all screwed up. I don't do that kind of thing. I go to Ms. Fennenbach when she was in office and I'd say, Ms. Fennenbach, I've heard this problem. It's yours now. Primarily, I care about all the students, all the teachers, all the administrators in our district. And just because I represent some more than others, that's okay. I have a really good relationship. I've visited all my schools. I visit every one of them every year, and I talk to the principals and the teachers. I go in every once in a while. I'll find out when most of the teachers are having lunch, and I'll just go sit in the lunchroom where they are and just talk to them. I'm not questioning them, I'm just listening to see what I can hear. So I don't care more about the schools in my district. I just care that they're being make sure that they're being taken care of, as well as all the other schools.
Okay, so that's a really good question. First of all, I have a responsibility to District 6 because those are the individuals that elected me. Okay. As the sitting president of the board, I have a responsibility to the entire district, right? So my good friends down the road in District 7, Coronado, I have a responsibility to support you, right? And then how do I do it? I have to unify the board. I have to make sure that we look at policies and procedures that impact and benefit everyone. For example, for the longest time, there are only a handful of schools within the district that had magnet programs. Coronado was one. Franklin didn't have any academic programs. Andrus High School, as you jump over the mountain, didn't have any magnet programs. Irvin High School didn't have any magnet programs. Austin High School didn't have any programs. Bowie had a program, but it could use some support. I guess my point is, and Burgess as well. Like my point is that we have to make things equitable from an academic perspective within our district. And so as a board member, I have to work with my other fellow partners on the board to ensure that we have consistency in the school district. And one of the things that we've done as a district, with the help of our superintendent, is bring more programs into the school district. Andrus High School now has an IB program. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. Franklin now has New Tech. Austin High School has New Tech. Bowie has New Tech. We're looking at always, and Chapin has an engineering program. We're trying to roll out new programs so that students have options. Jefferson has their medical programs, and we're looking at expanding those medical programs. We're trying to look for ways to work together as trustees to offer more to the students in our district.
We're all part of a team. Plain and simple, we're all part of a team. No one area is better than any other one. We are all part of a huge district. I cannot do my own area without working with each and every single one of you. And I expect the same thing, I guess, from the rest of the board. They will not be able to do their own area without the support of the rest of the trustees. Now, I understand my responsibility is to my area, and yes, they will be my responsibility, and I will do the very best to represent them and to be a trusted person for them. And I think the easiest and best way to always do that is just through transparency and communication and being available to them. But I cannot do it alone. You have to work as a team, because it's not a board of one, it's a board of all of us.
The trustee for District 7 is obviously appointed and elected to represent the specific district of Coronado. However, the way I see it, I'm representing all the children at EPISD. I don't think that it's wise to focus only on District 7 or only on District 1 or 2 or whatever the case may be. I think it's wise to look at the big picture and think about all the children in El Paso and making sure that all the children in El Paso have the best chance possible to succeed.